Well, hey, Diet Disruptors, Carrie here. I am so excited to introduce you to someone who has become a real friend of mine. I mean, yes, I met you as a client, but I love this woman. She has such an awesome story to tell, and I can't wait for the rest of you to meet her. This is Sue. Hi, Sue.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I am good. I am good. I have been wanting to share your story for so long. I love everything about it, and I just think it's so important for other people to hear from you. And I talk all the time about success stories and about women and men to hear like I wish they could like be on a field trip with me so that they could see what I see. And today we get to do that with you. So, you are a teacher.
Yes.
And we met back in like June of last year, almost a year. Well, not almost, yeah, I guess kind of almost a year ago.
Kind of. It's
Mhm.
getting there fast.
So before we talk about your story and all the things you did and where you were and all of that, I would love to talk about like today, right now. I mean, one of the things that prompted me to even say, you need to share your story was a recent post that you put in our membership group about a recent doctor's visit. So why don't you just share what's going on right now with you?
Recently, within the last couple of weeks, I went to the doctor's and I was trying to figure it out. It's at least since 2009. I've had struggles with my insulin levels and my blood sugar stabilization all the way. So every 3 to 6 months, I've had to have blood work and A1C and all of that stuff done. And at one point I was on metformin, which actually made me put on more weight. So I was happy to get off of that. But I still had everything else, and I was still always borderline, which really weighed heavy on me because, you don't want to have a piece of cake because you think it's going to ruin everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now when my blood test comes, what's going to happen? And horrible things. So, when I went 6 months ago, it was normal. And she said, I just want to check it in 6 months just to make sure that everything is okay. Because, for 15 years, it hadn't been normal. And so 2 times in a row, the second time it came back normal. I'm going to even get a little teary-eyed about it. So 15 years trying everything possible and nothing worked. Since June, Disruptive Nutrition and eating PFC every 3. And now I'm able to say that my blood sugar is within a normal level. And she actually said, I don't have to come to the doctor for a whole year, which is crazy.
And you were doing every 3 months?
Every 3 months, every 3 to 6. Sometimes I would get good enough that they would say, okay, we can wait 6 months. But normally every 3. So.
And now you can go back in a year.
A year.
I mean, like, can you just, let's go back and say, okay, if you kept going the way you were going, and not by lack of trying, I mean, you had the ultimate, and in some ways, like I call it the kind of like the effort outcome mismatch. And I saw that, right? Like you were trying.
Yeah. But you get so tired of trying because, you go through I'm trying. Oh, this is working. And then of course working. And then it stops working because it wasn't really working in the first place. And then, the weight creeps back on, or something happens, or I don't feel motivated to work out anymore, or whatever it is. And then, life takes over and you start the new thing, and then you get discouraged, and then you don't want to do it anymore. And you just, exactly. It's one giant cycle.
Yep.
So
over and over again. But are you off that cycle? Are you off the hamster wheel?
Yes, I'm off the hamster wheel.
How do you know?
Because I can eat whatever I want and not have to worry about, I eat everything as if P, F, and C, everything. So as long as I tried to stay 80, 90% in my, the green zone, my PFCs, my green light meals. And I try and eat a lot of, my carby vegetables, and I only eat fruit in the morning, and I try and do those kinds of things, but that's just for me because I knew that I needed that little extra push because of metabolic disorder things.
You know
So
yourself so well.
yes,
You literally
yes,
know what you need and what your body needs. You and your body are like talking. Say it's the same love language. Coach Deb is the
yes,
first person that said that. Do you feel like you and your body are speaking the same love language?
yes, exactly. Because this is exactly what I needed, because it is so easy to do and satisfying. And because if my husband said tonight, let's go out for ice cream, I could say, okay,
Oh, how freeing is that?
yeah.
How would you have reacted to that a year ago? Like, what would that have been?
I maybe would have said yes, but I would have hated myself.
Right. Or you would have said no and
Yes.
then felt deprived.
Yes, exactly. So I obviously one of those things, yes or no, would have happened, but neither one of them would have been no, and I'm happy, because sometimes I say, if he says things, you know, like, let's go for pizza. No, I want to save my meal because I know we're going out with friends on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, no, I want this.
Something else later. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Or I had something yesterday, so I can't, you know, I don't want to do that.
And here's the biggest thing around it. It's like not around these rules that I have set for you. Yeah. You have made a plan for yourself. You have decided how you want to show up, how you live your best life. I don't know. Like, I don't know that. Right? Because that's not part of the plan. The plan is education. The plan is you understanding your body in a way with like the bumpers on a bowling lane.
Right. Right.
You can't go in the gutter.
And it's not as if I could do whatever I wanted 2 days in a row. I just know that I'm not going to feel good.
Yeah.
So,
which is so different than you feeling like you're going to gain weight.
Right.
That's huge, right?
It's huge. It's not, oh my gosh, if I eat ice cream 2 days in a row, something horrible is going to, if I eat ice cream 2 days in a row, my stomach's going to be upset because I really shouldn't be having dairy. So
we're going to talk about dairy and you, because I remember you were telling me how you had done our initial first month, what we call the 4 weeks to wellness. And you were finishing up with that. And you were like starting to figure out, okay, what foods am I missing? What foods do I want to integrate back in? And you did, I think it was like some sort of cheese dish at dinner. Do you remember this? I remember this. And what happened right after you ate it? My
foot swelled up very, like, huge, probably, I don't know, 2 times the size of my ankle. So off and on for, again, at least 15 years, my ankle unexplained has always, one or the other has swollen up, and it's never both at the same time. So the doctor's like, oh, we don't know what's going on. And I obviously have a dairy out. I mean, it was immediate.
And we had been looking at medication for you, right?
Yes.
All sorts of things. You had been on medication for it, I think, if I remember correctly. Am I right?
They tried to give me, like a diuretic.
Right.
So I did that for a while, but it wasn't really helping. So then, you know, I worked myself off of it.
But isn't it so amazing how we know that changing some of the ways that we're eating is going to actually be the root of how we get healthy. And you aren't deprived. You still can eat all the things. It's about knowing food and knowing your body.
Right. Exactly. It's exactly like that. Knowing food and knowing your body.
And so I want to talk about your husband in a second too, but I also just want to show this because I always say confidence does not come when you have met your goals. Confidence comes when you know what you're doing is right. And I know you're still, I mean, you're showing up for yourself and there is no end in sight. Like you are just going to keep going and you're going to get stronger, healthier, leaner, and just keep going in that direction. But the confidence doesn't wait until after that. But you recently shared some pictures with me and I feel like when you had first started, I don't think you would have ever, like the confidence that you have now to share those pictures, I think is different than it would have been when you started with me. Are you?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm going to share some with people. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
All right. So let's take a look. Susan, this was you. I think you had said to me, this was probably when you were at your heaviest.
Yes. That was probably
how you just even felt about yourself. I mean, you look beautiful.
It was my, sister-in-law's wedding and I was the matron of honor and of course everybody's looking at me, so you're already very nervous.
Yeah.
And at my heaviest, and I mean you can see my neck is definitely different. I felt really uncomfortable in my own skin and everything felt bad, you know. You just don't feel good.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing when your body is talking to you about those kinds of things. It isn't about the weight on the scale. I always say, if you didn't have the scale, how would you know that you're making progress?
Right. And it was probably more than my weight. If I think back to it, my stomach was acidic. I didn't feel good all the time. Food didn't taste good. I'd eat just because, or because it was there. Even, there was no thought around why I was eating what I was eating, or why it was making me feel this way.
Yep. There's so many levels of that, right? It's not just eat this, not that. There were so many other levels that were going on there that you weren't even aware of.
Right. Yeah,
So
definitely.
then you decided and you did sort of what I did. I mean, you have been, if you counted, how many diets have you think you've been on?
At least 15, like at least 15. I mean, and that counts going on Weight Watchers 3 times and,
Right.
Nutrisystem twice. And
And I mean, you really had done all of it because again, it wasn't like you weren't trying. You were just not like education. And we are educators, right? Education
yes,
truly is opportunity and gives you choice and empowerment. And when you
yes,
know, you can actually do. So you work out. I will say that when I met you, I feel like you were like inconsistent. You were like, I'm kind of, I am, and I'm not. But you did for a little while work out enough to get off metformin before us,
yes,
right? Before
yes,
you came to us. Am I right?
yes,
So I
yeah.
want to share that picture. I love this picture of you. I love a woman, strong, lifting weights. Look at those heavy weights that you're lifting.
Heavy weights.
And I love that. But you admit even then, I mean, you were pushing yourself and you were working, but you weren't showing up consistently for yourself. So tell me
I
about this
wasn't,
stage of your life here.
yeah, I definitely wasn't consistent. I worked out with a trainer, and I think that definitely helped. Somebody to show me how to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And I could lift heavy weights, but then I didn't, where I wasn't consistent was with obviously food. Again, I'd still eat whenever I wanted.
Yep.
I went through a giant fasting stage of the starving myself. And then of course you get hungry. So then when it is whatever time you're getting off fasting, say noon, and then I felt like I wanted to eat everything that there was.
And now
it was,
you know why.
I know why it was carbs.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit down and eat an entire bag of pretzels and just think,
blood sugar was all out of whack.
Yeah.
As the woman who has to keep going to the doctors every 3 to 6 months because of that.
Exactly. So, right. But then,
but you're fasting because you hear that is going to be a way, because you were about weight loss, but also you were like, I need to get healthy. You knew that.
Yes. And I knew I needed to do something for my blood sugar. So then everybody's like, oh, if you fast, that's so good for your blood sugar. But it's not. When when we go through all the science that you show in the program, you see it's not. I mean, obviously my blood sugar is dropping super low. So that seems good. And so my body goes, this isn't good. It's too low. You need food.
Yeah.
And
then you get it super high. And like if you jump from a first floor, you jump, right? You jump from a second floor, you're gonna really hurt yourself, right?
Right.
And so the higher up you are, the faster and the harder you fall. And so when you were spiking your blood sugar up super high because your body was like, I need this sugar, I need the carbs, you will drop so low so fast.
Yeah.
And to be very honest with you, fasting, there's 3 questions, right, that we all learn how to answer. 1, is it based in science so that it lasts? 2, can you do it for the rest of your life? Actually, I should say, is it based in science so it makes your body healthier, right? Because diets are based in science, but they're not making you healthier. Can you do it forever? Would you put your kids on it? And you even that's so important, because the way that you lose weight has to be the way you maintain it. Has to be, or your body goes into all sorts of oh my gosh, we do not know what this chick is doing. And you end up gaining weight. I just had somebody say, yeah, I dieted my way to 290 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what ends up happening. And so now you are eating all the time, and you are a busy teacher. You're doing it while you're teaching.
Yep. Yeah,
no problem.
No problem. I normally sip on a shake or eat. Sometimes if I know I'm not going to have enough time, a half a bar is really only 2 bites. I mean, if you think about how fast you can stick a half a bar in your
Well, right before we came on, I was like, I got to eat real quick. And I did that just to like maintain, right? And
Yes,
it's not like we're about shakes and bars, but right? If you live a busy lifestyle, we eat 5 to 6 times a day. You might need to have a bar or a shake as one of them, just so you could boom, boom,
right.
boom, right? Right.
Yep. Hard-boiled eggs. So it's the other quick one.
Yeah, I love hard-boiled eggs. All right, so I'm gonna show another picture because this is like a power picture. So this is you right now, and like you're strong, you're lean, and you're just showing up for yourself every day. How are you feeling now about yourself?
It is amazing because like you said about you, we're not about the scale. So I got rid of my scale
Yeah.
about a month and a half, and it did take me a little bit longer than I wanted it
And
to.
I always say, listen, I'm not going to tell you, just like I'm not going to tell you what to eat. I'm going to educate you. And I
Yes,
want you to make the decisions and the choices for yourself, because the minute you do it because I told you to, the minute I'm not looking, you're like, I'm going to go back and grab it. But when you make the decision to do it yourself, it becomes much more meaningful. And I remember saying to you, what would you do if you didn't have the scale? How would you know you're making progress? So
right.
you threw away the scale.
And I know I'm making progress because my clothes are looser, and I have actually a giant pile of clothes that I have to take to donate because I just cleaned out my closet, which is actually a huge step for me, because normally when I go on a diet, I clean out my closet and I put them in bags and put it in the basement to wait for the weight to come back on so I can go get my clothes again. And this time I'm gonna take them to donate because I don't need them. And it's kind of freeing. Again, I'm gonna tear up almost. But it's a really great feeling to be able to know that I'm making progress. And it's definitely my clothes. I sleep better. My skin is better. My skin has probably never been clearer in my whole, I had adult acne, I guess, for probably from dairy and all of the other things that I was doing to myself for years and years. And my face cleared up.
You also realized, I think, that you can't handle gluten.
Right? Yeah, well, in there, I had been diagnosed with celiac 10 years ago.
Right, you had already known that that's right, you were celiac, but you had for a long time not had gluten, right? Right.
Yes.
Right.
And I had it, and obviously if I had been listening to my body then, it was screaming, don't do it. But you don't know what it is. But definitely, I think I can pick it out of other people when they have a gluten intolerance, and I just don't feel good after I eat even a sandwich. And I'm like, if you
well, most of us actually do, especially now with the way that food is processed. And that's like just a really big realization that all of us need to just get on board with and understand. Like my kids have Banza pasta now. And if I tell them it's Banza chickpea pasta, they're like, oh, we don't like it. When I tell them it's regular pasta, they're like, see, this is so much better. I'm like, it's the same dang thing.
Yeah. Oh,
there's two other things in my head that I want to make sure you share, because I think it's super powerful. One of them is, so yes, you learned how to eat. You're like a teacher, you're organized, you follow instructions really well. And I used to teach teachers for years, and as well as I do, they're the worst students, but you were a really good student. But I think it's interesting because one of the things that we said on one of our calls was, we talked about exercise, right? And the fact is that you had been doing some strength training, but you weren't real consistent with it. And you said to me, I always think about what I'm willing to do and not willing to do. Like we talked about self-awareness, and you were really digging into your morning routine and just getting healthy in every single way. And you said, I know what I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to wake up early to work out. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. This is your journey to do. You are now working out every single morning before work. How the heck did that happen?
Well, actually, one of the other members on the membership group had posted that she was going to try and get up, and as support, I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to do it too.
I love our membership group. It's so great. Okay, go ahead.
It is great because I've never even met her in person. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you know them or they live next door.
Yep.
It's still accountability. So I said, I'm just going to do it. I'll do it because I'm having trouble when I come home from work being consistent. So maybe I'll be more consistent if I wake up. Though I've done it before and never wanted to get out of bed. but I think because I'm sleeping better, I actually started waking up 15 minutes earlier, even because I was working out, but I felt too rushed and I didn't have time for my other morning routine um, of my journaling and sitting and doing things. So I like those
and
10 minutes.
You get thrown off if you don't do that.
Yes, that's actually one of my big things that's very centering for me, that little bit of time for 10 minutes. So I started waking up 15 minutes earlier, and I actually have no problem. I mean, I have to go to bed at 9, but that's okay. That's our actual cutoff. My college daughter was home for spring break and she actually made fun of us. She's like, "Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Isn't it time for bed?" I'm like, "It is time for bed. And you can make fun of me if you want."
And I'm going to work out in the morning. So while you're going to keep your butt in bed.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And those are all pieces that this is part of your transformation. It's not like you did that morning time before. We started doing it because we teach that intentionality, and it's like so much more than food. But when you set yourself up for success in the morning, you were the first one to notice what a difference it made in the rest of your day. Yeah. And, we talk about the plates and spinning all the plates, the 6 plates: exercise, nutrition, water, sleep, stress, and supplements. And it's so amazing how when your nutrition improves, your sleep can improve, which then can allow you to wake up in the morning and exercise. And that's what you did. Now you exercise every morning.
Yeah. Every morning, I at least get up to move my body in some way. So it's not, doesn't have to be strenuous. I mean, though yoga is pretty strenuous, but
I love it though, because I just like Savasana at the end. I'm like, yes.
That's my favorite part.
My yoga teacher actually fell asleep during Savasana the other day. I was like, are we supposed to get up now? I'm pretty sure. Enough time. Anyway, but what I think is like very cool too is, so, you went through our, I talk about how, like, when you say yes to yourself, you're marrying yourself. You're kind of saying yes. And then you kind of go on a honeymoon for 3 months and you really learn about you and yourself, get to know each other. But it's kind of a honeymoon. You have a coach and you're like, yay. But then after those 3 months, it's real easy to be like, okay, I'm like done and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But that's like thinking that I'm going to get home from the honeymoon and I'm just going to be married for the next 30 years. It's just going to happen. You got to still show up for your marriage. And you, my friend, continue to show up. You cultivate that relationship. You stay engaged with our membership and all the stuff and the content that we put out. So talk about you being able to sustain this after you finish, quote unquote, the honeymoon.
Well, I use the planner, the planner from, especially, I haven't actually gotten the printed planner, the shorter version, the 1 page, which I actually really like the full pages and that's just me.
Yeah. Because that comes like part of it is time management, right? And managing your time. And so kind of our exclusive planner becomes part of your life. So you're still using that. I love that.
I'm still using that. And I think what really helps me is I always have my grab and go always available. There's always meal prep, and I make turkey burgers and, ground turkey or brown rice. And there's, sweet potatoes. There's things in the fridge all the time that I can just throw together.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not really a lot of planning. I don't have to plan like I did at first, where you had to plan. For me, it was very beneficial to plan every single meal that I was going to have.
Oh, God. But you're not doing that anymore, right?
No. Yeah. No, that's just my personality. That is certainly not something that I would say everybody has to do. That's just my personality and I know how I am. But
and you've learned more about who you are and your personality, and how sometimes, because of how you operate sometimes out of fear versus other things, you want to be prepared.
Yes.
Because you're afraid of not being prepared. And that's something that you learned about yourself in this journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was definitely me. I have to be prepared for every scenario that there might have. And actually, I still am that way. My husband now eats PFC too. And actually, normally we went to my mother-in-law's this weekend. And on the way home, because we had eaten dinner and now it had been like 3 hours on the way home, I'm starting to get hungry and I pull my bar out and I start eating. He goes, "Do I have a bar?" And I
well, did you pack a bar?
And that's what I said.
Well, let's just, for like the last minute or so, talk about your husband, because this is what I love about the husband story. like you say yes to yourself, and very often it's hard to explain to your husband, I just said yes to the last nutritional advice I'll ever need, because they're like, yeah, right. I mean, how many times have you said this before? And they're not the first ones to jump on the I'm going to go do the same diet that my wife is going to do bandwagon, right? Because
Right.
they don't want to do what you're doing because it's always miserable.
Right. And he doesn't
Right?
want to eat, like chicken and rice every
No. He doesn't want to
meal.
track his food on an app, and he doesn't want to count calories, and he wants, I'm going to guess, like meat and potatoes and the things that like a lot of our guys are like, it's not okay. I'm not doing that. But your
Yeah.
husband, no, you started in June. He decided, and this is often what happens, you modeled, you showed progress, you were eating all the time, and by August he was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And it became
August,
his
he's like,
choice, right?
yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously for dinner, I'm still cooking meals from the portal.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, wow, this is so good. This is, I'm not deprived at all. Cause I am a big cook. Like I always cooked dinner. And it's really just their regular meals. They're just showing you how to do it a little healthier.
Mm-hmm.
you
And
know,
balanced, right?
and
A lot
balanced.
of a lot of meals aren't balanced, so we make sure they're balanced, and they're no-brainer swaps, really, with
Yeah,
getting healthier. Yeah.
they really are. And he said, you know what? I like those enough. Let's see how you do this. And I made sure that I had the men's information.
Yeah.
We actually have a binder just that I kept, even of the quick information. Again, I have to be prepared for all my scenarios.
Right. Right. But you know
I have
that
a
about
very,
yourself, so that's okay.
I have a thin binder and it's in the kitchen. It's actually in a drawer now. It doesn't have to be out all the time. So that's progress. So
Non-scale victories. So he knows, and you guys are all given the information about how you can help your husband and men so that they understand their portions and all of that kind of stuff. Because to me, you are the momfluencer, right? You are going to be the one that influences the rest of your family. And so now he's been living this for a long time too, and rocking it as well. And I just think that is the power of this, when you know you can do, but then when you are living it and showing just like what the benefits of living this lifestyle are, other people want that. And
yeah,
incredible. So incredible.
I think it is. And I think it's been great for him because he's been able to see, he's been more aware of his own body and what's going on. He said that women are much more aware of how we feel when we eat things. And so it's made him be a little bit more aware of what he's even putting in his body.
I
And
think that
why?
journey of self-awareness at whatever level it is, we can go through our whole life and not really be that aware of what we do. We could be pretty successful and not really dive into why we do things or how we feel or any of that. And I just think, how much are we missing in ourselves to be able to actually serve our purpose if we aren't aware of more about us? And
Right.
so as much as this is about a nutrition approach, to me, this is about how do you become truly the healthiest version of yourself? And you can't do that without digging in and being more aware of all the things. This cannot
Yeah.
just be about how you eat.
No, and it definitely isn't. It's been so much more. In fact, I tell a lot of people when I'm talking about it, I think for me, the most transforming part has been the mindset part. The nutrition was there and needed, but I guess I just needed to let go of that to have all of those other things.
Well, you finally didn't have to think about it. I want you to think about how
Yeah.
much of your brain power and capacity was sitting, the cognitive load that was always sitting on your body, the food, what to eat, managing the question around the ice cream, just all of that.
Yeah.
Your brain can't handle more. So you're not going to dive into those other pieces. You're not going to have the capacity to think about your mindsets until you can. That's why we do that first. You get that out of the way. And now you have capacity, and you
Yeah.
took it. You took it.
Yeah. It's definitely there. That's been, I think, for me, the biggest change.
I love it so much. So you are an inspiration. You are truly a diet disruptor, and, wanting to share that with others. And I think that that's what's so important too, is that if you keep it to yourself, then then what, right? Like our purpose is to serve others, I think, wholly. And so when you become kind of in that place of health, then you can start to serve others in a better way, in a more intentional way. So thank
Definitely.
you for trusting us and for taking, this is a little scary to come on and tell your story, and you did it. Are you okay?
I am okay. Phew.
What, so much more confidence now too that you have now from when we started. And I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
I definitely do. And I feel like I feel more comfortable in my own skin, which, is amazing. Just, it is so much more than nutrition. Nutrition is super important, but it is, like you said, all of the other things fall in place.
Well, if you don't have that, I feel like you're going to build your house on sand. So let's get the foundation set so that we can build a beautiful house. Right. And
yeah.
So
I like that.
Awesome. Give me a high five. Ready?
Great.
Boom. Love it. Sue, you're the best. Thank you so much. Congratulate Sue for her journey. And, at the end of the day, you've only been married now for less than a year. You have a long marriage left to go.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful journey. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you and for your husband. Very, very, very cool. Awesome. Thanks, babe. Talk to you later.